this. Me. I'm standing in front of the Statue of Liberty. I don't have a mask on, though. I wave my wand around, which is probably my penis. And then all of a sudden, boom, the Statue of Liberty decides that it only welcomes white European immigrants instead of everybody.
This Cloverfield prequel sucks.
I said I would riff an intro about magic, and that's the best you get.
That's bad.
All right. One time...
You want to talk about... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you want to talk about Randy Pitchford's magic?
I would love to.
Okay.
I just like...
Are you going to talk about the one time he made his career?
Disappear?
Nope. That didn't happen.
It didn't,
and then we
right.
can't even do that counter joke because Red Letter Media already did it. Damn it.
Yeah, but for real, sidebar, some conservative media outlet did say that the Statue of Liberty's welcoming immigrants quote was only for white Europeans.
Jesus. I just think that, like, I think that Randy Pitchford is not a very charismatic magician. And, like, I think that charisma is important when you're trying to trick people into thinking that you're right.
Unless you're Teller.
Well, I was watching...
He has no charisma. He doesn't talk.
That's true.
I watched Randy Pitchford with Penn, and he did basically like the whole fool me thing.
Is that Penn chic?
Yeah, no, there was a show where you had to, like, you performed magic tricks for them. Yeah, and they would try and guess how it was done, but if you could trick them, then they...
Yes, it's an incredible show, which YouTube recommends to me all the time because I've watched several episodes.
Yeah,
basically, they were working together on some project, like some VR magic prank thing, like that's a little twisted, according to Randy Pitchford.
Oh.
And they were announcing it together, and of course, Pitchford's like, I'm going to do fucking magic for Penn. So he was like, let's do the Fool Me segment as the intro. And that's what he did. And he did 2 tricks, and like... Penn was like, all right, I can't, like, he didn't say anything about the first one, and then he just, like, didn't really critique it, because he said he was like, oh, I'm going to be really hard on you, and Randy Pitchford goes like, yeah, I can take it, and all I'm thinking in my head is, I don't know if you could.
No, he's a very sensitive man, despite...
And then, to the tune of that, basically, like, Penn accuses the 3 people from the audience of being plants, but just in a Penn way where he's just like, plants, they're all plants, just like old man yelling at the sky. And every time he says the word plants, Randy Pitchford is visibly upset.
Boy.
He's just like, and he responds for like longer than a back and forth should go, like just let the bit go, understand that he's joking, like Penn's like, plants, I'd say they're all plants. And Randy's, oh, no, they're not plants. I've never seen these people in my life. And he's like, plants. And Randy's like, not plants. And like, as they're trying to like intro this fucking game, they're still having this back and forth where Penn doesn't give a shit because it's Randy Pitchford.
And uncomfortable.
And like, you said before that he like pursued his magic career in college. He did. He still like tags himself as like a professional magician. And he did a trick, obviously, at the Borderlands 3 E3 reveal.
PAX,
sorry.
Yeah.
At the PAX reveal. And you can clearly see, because of the way the audience member flipped the card at the end of the trick. Basically, he had someone sign a card.
Yeah.
And then the trick is that they pick a number, and then you open a package that was sealed with cards of, like, the Tiny Tina game.
Mm-hmm.
And you open the package, and you count out the number of cards, and the top card has the signature on it. But when you see her pull out the first card from the unwrapped pack, it shows to the camera, and lo and behold, it's the exact card Randy Pitchford showed to the camera. Like, they were all printed like that.
Right.
And it's just like, I've seen that actual trick done before, where you sign a card and the magician...
It sounds like an illusionist kind of thing gone wrong.
Right.
But, yeah.
Well, no, it's definitely just a fake magic trick that he used.
All magic tricks are fake.
I know, but fake in the way that there was no sleight of hand. There was no sleight of hand involved.
Right. Oh,
it was literally just like a trick. There was no skill involved in doing it. It was just like he set it up.
So it's funny.
It was preset, and I've seen that trick done before by like actual magicians, like who know the sleight of hand to do it. Like I used to hang out with this magician that performed at this dive bar in Township, and but so like he's done that trick with me several times, and it's cool to watch, and it is like wow, but it's just like if you say that you're a magician, just do the actual trick.
I think sleight of hand shit is cool. The funny thing is, we've talked a lot about the Borderlands 3 reveal at PAX East 2019. But what's interesting is that me and Austin and some friends of ours attended PAX
2017?
East 2017. It was 2018. 2017?
No, we didn't go in 2018.
Then we went in 2017.
2017.
So in PAX...
What year is it, guys?
Gearbox had a panel in 2017, and what was interesting is that they did not formally reveal Borderlands 3. However, they did show... I guess they were showcasing their engine.
Yeah, it was an engine demo.
But and
it had the textures and the character and
what's
everything.
weird is, like, I can't say, because I signed certain documents saying that I can't say exactly why, but I already knew that Borderlands 3 was something very much in the works, as a lot of other people probably already assumed. But I saw literal, tangible, visual proof that Borderlands 3 was something that was soon to be announced.
You're really pushing that NDA, Randy.
I am. But, so I dragged some friends along to this panel, thinking that this was going to be the formal reveal of Borderlands 3 to the public. And instead, what we got was a very brief showcase of the artwork in the new engine.
Unreal 4.
And then what felt like 2 hours of just completely irrelevant sketch comedy and magician.
What's the game show where there's the one bachelorette
tricks
and the 3 bachelors, and it's like
dating game,
match game,
the dating game,
dating game.
We did a parody of that on Live Quest.
They did that with Borderlands voice actors.
Yes.
So it was like the chick that did Angel.
Yeah.
Was there, and then it was her.
Oh yeah,
and then I
she's
think it was
big in promo.
It was Randy Pitchford as Crazy Earl, Mikey Newman as
Before
Scooter,
that relationship soured,
and I think
we'll talk about
and
that.
I think the guy, the guy that did Claptrap was also there.
He was there, and doing live, like his voice was being mixed live for the loudspeaker, like because I think Claptrap was the sort of pseudo host of the dating game.
Do we know? Makes sense.
Yeah.
Do we know who voices him now?
I can look it up.
That's a good question.
I'm
not sure.
I was
Not
just
the
thinking,
guy who voiced him before.
But no, I
know. After we got free codes for Battleborn and
Bulletstorm
Remaster, we ducked out of there once we realized that no real news was going to be delivered to us. But my face was very red when I saw proof that, like, I saw evidence that this game was going to be revealed, and then dragged a bunch of friends to an event where it was certainly not.
Go ahead.
It took 2 solid years for me to be
We should get
vindicated.
into the actual episode.
Let's get into it.
But the last thing I will say is that Randy Pitchford also did another 20-minute magic set at that panel, and it was just him memorizing numbers out of a book. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but he did that
Was
for
it
Penn
pi?
too. Yeah,
Was it pi?
Memorized the digits of pi.
Yeah.
And he actually
But he had a book of the whole thing, and he's like, flip to a page, and I'll tell you what number you're pointing at.
Exactly. He did that for Penn too, and Penn was like, you just memorized pi like fucking.
I don't know. It's impressive. That's not necessarily a magic
absolutely
trick.
not. And like, as someone who codes, like I was thinking about it as I was watching him do it. Like I was like, as someone who codes, I guess that makes sense that your brain would be wired for something like that.
No, that makes sense.
And like, definitely, it's impressive. But at the same time, like, I don't want to watch Randy Pitchford sit there and think about numbers.
It didn't necessarily make
he
for the
also
best
said like the
panel.
lowest tier of magic tricks is like mental whatever. It was and then he was like, and then I'm gonna do one of those.
All right.
And we are back. This is Hot Button. I'm Randall Beatrice here with Austin Blakesley, Chris Anantuano, and Melanie Greer back from last week.
That's me.
We are going to continue the.
I can't believe you just stayed in the studio for a week.
Yeah,
it's nice in
we
here.
all went home, came back. She was still here.
This is my home.
I don't want to lose my shot at being on 2 Hot Button episodes. Like I had to camp out.
But this is part 2 of we're going to get into sort of on this episode. So last week we kind of covered sort of where figurehead Randy Pitchford and company his studio Gearbox was sort of born out of, and their sort of rise to success, their claim to fame. And this week we're going to get a little bit more into Borderlands 3, as everybody is probably out there actively playing. But before that, I think I see some stuff on this document that may necessarily...
We're going to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Sir Randy
Battleborn.
Pitchford.
Oh, okay. Mr. Battleborn.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Battleborn.
Right.
Yeah.
So, before we get into Battleborn, there's one more Gearbox thing to cover, and that is right before the release of Borderlands 2 and right after the release of Aliens, Colonial Marines, and Duke Nukem Forever, Gearbox actually announced another game through Ubisoft at their E3 press conference, Brothers in Arms Furious 4.
Right. Bro, I think Ubisoft published the previous
Ubisoft
Brothers
does
in Arms
own,
games as well.
Or no, I'll get to it.
Okay,
but
sorry.
Ubisoft did own Brothers in Arms.
Oh.
Yeah, but this was a cartoony Brothers in Arms games. The trailer looked pretty much like the exact fucking...
Cartoony Brothers in Arms was literally like, what if Saving Private Ryan? Like it's like those games are so horrific. And
Yeah, you remember the part where they found the wrong Ryan and they told him his brothers died and he was young and he was really upset and he's worried that his brother died? Yeah, that but cartoons.
Yeah. What if his legs were blown off, but it was flowers?
And the trailer was more or less the scene
Legos.
from Inglourious Bastards where they do the bar scene in Inglourious Bastards. Like, that was the trailer.
Oh, you
It
mean
was
that
like
tense scene where you
Yes,
think all your
yes,
favorite
but it was
characters are about to
cartoony.
die?
Many
That
of them
but
did.
cartoons.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Nobody was expecting Michael Fassbender to eat it that early into that film.
that game was announced and then scheduled for release the next year in 2012, right around the time that I guess that Borderlands 2 was scheduled. I don't exactly know what happened, but instead of releasing the game the next year, Ubisoft just abandoned the IP. Gearbox bought the IP, and the game was just changed to Furious 4.
I remember
They took
this.
the Brothers
I
in
do.
Arms name off of it because a lot of people complained that it was a very serious war series that was being made cartoony, so they took the Brothers in Arms off and just called it Furious 4, and then canceled it entirely.
That's kind of a running sort of thing here.
As game development tends to go...
Yeah, and then the movie studio got a hold of it, added 4, and then Furious 8, everybody in theaters. That's
Hateful
Well,
how it
I
happened.
was
It's
trying
Furious 7, Hateful 8, and... Oh, Ridiculous 6. That's what you were
No, it's
talking about.
It's Fate of the Furious, but F with an 8. Not a joke. That's what it is.
No, that's
I know.
absolutely.
Oh no!
It is what it is.
No, it's still a joke.
Yeah.
It can be real and
no,
still
she's
be a
right.
joke.
Yeah.
But
It's-
some of the systems from that game were transitioned into a new IP, the follow-up to Borderlands, Battleborn.
Oh, I love that game.
Do you? Battleborn?
Do you?
I've never played it. I know about it, obviously,
I
and
played
all
it.
the
I had a very
issues.
excited roommate purchase it, and we played it together.
How was it?
It was okay.
So here's-
it's not actually that
So let me get into this.
bad.
I'm going to talk about my opinions on Battleborn. We can talk about it then, and then I'll get into the controversy of the whole thing.
It's got split screen online
Battleborn was announced on July 8th, 2014.
because it's fun.
As another genre blend like Borderlands. This time, the FPS and a MOBA had a baby instead
My
of an
favorite
FPS
and least
RPG.
favorite mashed together.
Yes.
United at last.
Good point here. Randy Pitchford said in an interview that MOBAs thrived on their cast of characters.
It's true.
And Gearbox had proven that they could design a colorful, likable cast of characters.
Also true.
That
Also
makes
true.
sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is a valid statement.
But here's the unfortunate part of the game. The game came out May 3rd, 2016, which just so happened to be not only 3 weeks before the launch of Overwatch, but also the day that the Overwatch open beta started.
This is one of the biggest jugular hits I've seen. Yeah.
Overwatch isn't a MOBA, though.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's not,
But
but
people like in
just
in
a
the
colorful
eyes.
cast of characters.
Yeah, in the eyes of a lot of
and visually, too.
of a lot of casual followers of
And
games. Like
unfortunately,
they did
every time
seem-
Blizzard releases a game, everybody pays attention.
it's true.
Yeah.
They're both first-person shooters that look like this eccentric cast of DreamWorks-inspired weirdos. I can
It's-
see where that.
You guys have talked in dev stories and like console stories before about just like poorly timed choices.
Yes.
You talk about that a lot, and it's
So-
just like this is another one of those
This
where
is
it's
the
just like
antithesis is that for
fun
sure.
fact.
Yeah.
Battleborn was actually originally intended to be released in the end of 2015. And then it got delayed till February 2016, and then again till May. And somebody's like, "Hey, dude, Overwatch is coming out the same day. You wanna,
Wait, the rock and roll racing guys?
no." I couldn't find any interview, but I imagine Randy Pitchford's response was like, "We made Battleborn, damn it, fuck Blizzard," like something like that.
and that makes
Or,
sense.
sorry, we made Borderlands, damn it,
Yeah.
fuck Blizzard. Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Yeah. So you said it was originally scheduled for release late 2015. Well, that makes sense because they were probably picking up the slack from 2K Australia for all that DLC that they didn't release.
Yes. Also,
true.
another thing, this was a MOBA in a already crowded market full of MOBAs. You had League of Legends and Dota absolutely dominating the world.
Yeah.
You had secondary games like Blizzard's own Heroes of the Storm, and you had games
And you
like
had action MOBAs like Smite,
Paragon.
Paragon. Yeah, that's
Yes.
a good
All of our friends were playing fucking Paragon. Like,
And Smite and Paragon were also targeted at the console demographic
You
as
had
well.
the King of Fighters MOBA.
Don't remember.
You had the Dead Island MOBA.
Nobody remembers.
You had the
Dead
DC
Island MOBA?
You
Yeah.
had the DC MOBA.
that you
There were
played
a
and no
lot.
one else. Yeah.
Which
There
one?
was the
I played
Pop
both.
Vinyl MOBA. The Pop Vinyl MOBA.
God, I wish.
The one based off Pez, like
I
the
would play that with
candy.
you.
I'm gonna get real
trademark-
hard into pop
trademark.
vinyls and Snapchat them to you every day just to spite all three of
I'll
you.
just delete you from Snapchat.
It's not that hard. I did it already. Just
But then who are you
preemptively.
gonna send pictures of your box copy of Tetris 99 to? All right,
It was worth it. I can do all the dailies now.
back into it. First, opinions. Battleborn, not a bad game. If there was ever a
okay.
thing that was going to get me, I've said this before, Destiny is my shit because it is the Halo people making an MMO.
Mm-hmm.
That is the one thing that could get me into that MMO thing. I'll say the same for MOBAs. If there's ever a person...
Battleborn's the most fun I've personally ever had with a MOBA,
Yeah,
but
it's not a good.
What do I
It's not
know?
a great game, but if there was ever a team to get me into MOBAs, games designed around casts of characters that I like, Gearbox does seem like a logical choice.
Yeah,
And
that's how I would feel if
Yeah.
if Borderlands opened up and ended up being an MMO, which has
Yeah.
been one of my
I'm not-
fears
I'm not
for
gonna lie,
Borderlands
the
3
opening-
since Borderlands 2.
the opening to Battleborn is like the saddest thing ever because it opens with this, like, the intro cutscene is this huge epic thing that's animated, and I forget, is it Del the Funky Homo Sapien who's doing, or Deltron doing the
Deltron.
music, and it's animated by the Gorillaz music video, which strangely enough came up in the previous episode as well.
Yeah.
And it's this epic opener for this, like, otherwise kind of inevitably
Yeah.
sleepy little release that, like, it...
Got lost.
But they were going for it. Like the production was and money was was there for this to be way bigger deal than it ended up
I
being.
played my fair share of Battleborn. One could attribute that to the sunk cost fallacy, which is that I was like, I already paid $60. I might as well play it.
It's a steep bar of entry.
But that leads me into the controversy. Because, spoiler alert, if I didn't already say this, because I honestly can't remember, didn't do too well.
No.
Didn't do too hot.
I think we kind of implied.
Especially compared to Borderlands numbers, like, Battleborn did not do well.
Also, compare that to Overwatch, which
Well,
right
yeah.
now was,
Yeah, 2 weeks later.
was
or
the
whatever.
biggest thing in the world when
Yeah.
this came out.
But in September of that same year, Jason Schreier of Kotaku, our Jesus Christ to this podcast,
Yes.
has given us so much information.
Sidebar, I was talking about this earlier. We should do a Jeff Gersman-esque
Thing about
history
Jason
of Jason Schreier. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
probably
he
a good idea.
deserves
That's
his
true.
own.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
But he posted an article.
He has
and
so many nemesis.
He leaked,
it sucks.
he leaked
I
this
feel
thing.
so bad for
That's so
Basically
fun. I just
saying-
want to write a story about like how much shit he's gotten into.
I know.
He posted an article. He was basically leaking Battleborn is going free to play. Makes a lot of sense.
Borderborn.
At this point, I think there was something like 18 or 19,000 active players in Battleborn, which is very bad for a MOBA.
Yeah.
Especially a
Oh,
game that
ew,
needs
yeah.
people in order to make it worth playing.
I think
because
even the single player content was designed around multiplayer. Like I think
There was no
Yeah.
single player content.
There was.
You told me. Okay, there
there was
was.
like
There
a
was,
series
but
of
I-
missions.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was co-op. But the article stated that the game was intended by Gearbox to be free to play from the start.
I remember this. Yeah.
But that 2K wanted a $60 product from Gearbox. So the game ended up
Shocking.
costing $60 and having a bunch of free-to-play shit in it, a lot of microtransactions and stuff. Pitchford responded to this article on Twitter by saying, I was just told about the reckless story about Battleborn going free-to-play. That is false. There are no plans to convert Battleborn to free-to-play. Followed up, we have some unannounced plans to do a trial version of the game that would be free, from which the retail and can be purchased along with DLC. Schreier then responded to him on Twitter and asked if this was a timed demo. To which Pitchford responded, I don't think timed demo is right. I think we need some sort of plans first, and then I'll announce them. Call in a few months.
this is some semantics ass shit of like shit
And-
being thrown
Well,
back
that's
and forth.
I mean, that's also like a very Randy Pitchford defense mechanism where like anybody calls him out on like either lying or misspeaking, and he's just like,
what are
microtransactions
really?
Yeah, like what exactly? Like, well, you know what I meant. Why would you say that about me? It's like, oh, dude, come on.
Yeah.
You gotta know who you are and what your words mean.
So, Jason Schreier, as always, sums up my thoughts on the matter better than I ever could. At the end of his article, he says, so if it's not a time demo, what is it? It seems like maybe we're just arguing over semantics.
Oh, like I said.
But what I've heard is that there will be a free multiplayer or modes, while the story missions and DLC will be behind a paywall. Some heroes will be paid, others will be free, and the game may include a League of Legends-style hero rotation, according to a source. I guess we'll see in a few months.
Okay.
The idea behind going free-to-play as a way to draw in players and then selling the microtransactions into DLC is not new. It's a good idea. It's helped a lot of MOBAs recover, it's helped a lot of MMOs recover.
MOBAs as well, probably.
MOBAs always were free-to-play.
Yeah, MOBAs are always...
But it did help. It did help Paragon, because Paragon cost money at first, and then they...
Oh, yeah. No, it did. You're right.
Did.
There were physical copies of that fucking
thing. Funny thing is, the game didn't have bad reviews. Like, as far as MOBAs go, it was good. I don't like MOBAs, but it was a good MOBA. I did enjoy...
It helped Warframe threaten Destiny.
Yeah. It did. I did like my time with it, but... It was a $60 MOBA. How are you going to attract an audience to a game like that when they're surrounded by free games that are arguably better and definitely more popular?
Well,
this might be
Smite's free to play, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Smite was always free to
Smite
play.
is free to play.
Well, I mean, just think of the phrase $60 MOBA.
Yeah.
Like,
That's...
and there you go.
I mean, $60 anything was enough to scare people off. I mean, Overwatch was $40, $60 if you wanted the Legendary Edition, but that was already enough for people to be like, this one's $60, this one's $40.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter that they're different genres
$60.
of games. Oh, me too. I think I did. I think I bought the regular one and upgraded, but, like, they saw two cartoonish first-person shooters and chose the cheaper one.
But...
that everybody was into.
Fuck going free-to-play. Randy Pitchford had another plan to draw in an audience.
This might be the saddest tactic I've ever seen to get a game to be tweeted about.
Any guesses from the...
Magic, obviously, right?
No.
Porn.
Well, yeah. What was Overwatch succeeding at this time?
Yes.
Well, if you ask Randy Pitchford, magic and porn are interrelated.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
I'm going to point out, by the way, that at this time, Overwatch was the highest search term for pornography according to Pornhub's analytics.
Battleborn?
No, Overwatch.
I've never played Overwatch, and I've watched Overwatch porn.
Okay, damn it, that's what I...
and that's... whatever.
So, on January 17th, 2017, a little bit after Jason Schreier wrote his article and half a year after Battleborn came out, not doing well, Randy Pitchford tweets, very not safe for work, but I have received reports that Battleborn Rule 34 is now a thing on Reddit. Link with caution. And then it follows up with a link to the Battleborn Rule 34 subreddit.
What?
A Battleborn Rule 34 subreddit that the internet very quickly discovered was created a mere 9 hours before his tweet.
God. All right, so two problems with this off the bat.
Only two?
Well, no, way more than that.
Wouldn't this be crazy if
this
it
is
was
dumb
like...
and gross and desperate.
If Trump tweeted tomorrow, like, very not safe for work, and then it's like a naked
Rule
missile
34
or
of the
something.
wall.
Yeah, like Rule 34 of the wall, and it's just like rebar instead of like concrete.
The whole point about Rule 34 is that anything can be...
Yes.
Yeah, like,
Hey,
he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Rule 34 of Randy Pitchford's tweet about Battleborn's Rule 34.
We'll get there.
That's hot.
So, like I said, the internet had discovered that the subreddit was created by an anonymous user. Was this Randy Pitchford? Was it not? Who knows? Probably. But
the best
Sorry,
part,
but probably.
Hey man, I came here because I'm the kind of person to buy pictures of your feet if you wear a diva onesie. What the fuck is this?
No, the best fucking part is that after this happened, if you went on that link, everybody would just keep posting Overwatch porn on the Battleborn porn fucking sub.
Afterward, but first, when people found this link. And then they found out that somebody created the Reddit 9 hours beforehand.
Allegedly.
It being a Reddit, it's public.
Yeah.
Anybody can post to it. So the Reddit was
Even
quickly...
dozens and dozens of alt-right platformers Reddit.
People quickly spammed the Reddit with posts with titles including "Overwatch is better," "This is pathetic, Randy," "Another embarrassment for Gearbox," and "Battleborn is pathetic." Those were the top.
Also, check out Tracer's ass.
Those were the top 4 posts, followed by a 5th post, which was a naked Battleborn character.
Yeah.
At least there's one. Randy Pitchford probably posted that. I can't.
To be honest, no offense to the person who did it, but like maybe you were just like tired that day. The Battleborn font is garbage.
Yeah.
The actual go ahead right now. Stop what you're
Isn't
doing.
the same font as Fortnite?
Stop what you're. It's
I
similar.
thought it was.
Stop what you're doing. Google Battleborn. Look at a picture. It's an incoherent mess as far as like graphic design goes.
Yeah.
It's
That
like
is
some
very
letters
true.
that shouldn't be smushed
So-
together are,
so-
others that are separated, angled shouldn't be. It's kind of a mess, and honestly, that's what pisses me off
All right,
most.
so no, I got
it's
a
something
couple
about-
more things to say about Battleborn before we move on to Borderlands 3.
I have one small thing to say
Okay,
about the
alright.
design of the logo.
Oh,
It's
okay.
obviously in that what you're saying, where letters are not where they they look awkward. That's just like nobody looked at it. Nobody did anything because like in graphic design, like kerning is the amount of space between letters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you make a logo, you adjust the kerning between every single fucking letter because that is like that's
Oh yeah, that really is ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like that's just how
and that
design
symbol
works.
isn't nearly as fucking cool as
Yeah,
the
like the
Vault
T's
logo.
and the L's are like all smushed and
Yeah.
It just looks
So
clunky.
So it's
it looks
interesting.
like the
is
fucking Metallica
there
font.
was around Battleborn's time of release, there was a lot of other attempts to sort of pull this game into a similar limelight that Borderlands had reached genuinely. Like people were dressing up like Borderlands characters and and making fan art because they liked the game because they wanted to. Like that wasn't a plant from the company to do that. Like so
It's almost like they had all the tools and didn't need to do anything
so
bad,
it's
but
when
they did
Borderlands
anyway.
was trying to reach, or when Battleborn, was trying to reach that same level of being recognized, they worked out some other very bizarre deals, Austin. I don't know if you remember. So, for starters, there were Battleborn characters playable in Rock Band 4. And already...
Oh yeah, the mushroom
Of course
guy.
you would know
Yes,
that.
a game with an already troubled release. But
Yeah, that's like the people who play Rock Band 4 now. If you ever find videos of people who still play it, it's Archer,
yes, who's
and
in
then
the
the
game.
guy from Fallout.
Mass Effect Andromeda, I think,
It's a guy in a Mass Effect armor, a guy in a Fallout Vault suit, the mushroom
For
guy
76.
from Battleborn, and Archer from Archer.
It's just like they made some bad deals.
what in the fuck is that game?
It's just a
That's just
goddamn
like-
mess.
That's
Wait, don't you have a Rock Band 4 poster at your house with the 4 scratched out that says 3? Is that, am I mistaken?
No, you're absolutely correct.
No,
I
yep, that
I
exists.
do. I was way too embarrassed to not sketch out that 4 for a 3. But the other one that's very funny is I think this was also around the same time that the Ready Player One film was coming out in theaters, and me and Austin.
No, it was being developed.
It was being developed. Okay, so that movie features cameos and Easter eggs of various video game properties, very very extensive list of kind of tie-ins. But
It also features the cameo of Thin Writing.
Yeah.
I don't know which cultural character that is.
blatant sexism also but
and a Joy Division shirt.
fuck you.
Oh,
That makes me
wow.
so upset.
That means they're cool,
But what's
right?
hilarious
Right,
is
yeah.
when Battleborn, I guess by the time this film was released, had already kind of fizzled away into obscurity. But there are numerous Battleborn characters in this.
Really?
Yes, in this movie.
I didn't even notice that. I was
Yeah.
like, Tracer's in it.
Tracer isn't it? But that was the only one that they could afford from them because there's a lot of very high texture, like high res Battleborn characters, but they could only get Tracer. But oh my god, it was very weird because by the time, when we were watching that movie in the theaters, we were like, hey, it's that fucking mushroom guy that everybody else.
Well,
That's
it's like
funny.
Ready
I
Player
gotta
One.
go back and look at the screenshot because I'll never watch that movie again.
Ready Player One was probably just like throwing like any like small amount of money at smaller IPs.
Iron Giant, everybody, right?
Yeah, like
love
it
the
was
Iron
just
Giant. I
like
hate
they
this all so
probably
much.
threw $20 at Gearbox for Battleborn rights, and Gearbox was
No,
like,
I think
"Yeah,
it was
we
the
could."
opposite. I think Gearbox wanted those characters to be in as many.
Yeah, they were probably free.
And
Yeah.
they threw $20 at Ready Player One.
Yeah.
like I think
I'm
that.
sure there was no money involved whatsoever.
I
Sure
think
it was
money
a-
exchanged hands.
I think it was probably a mutual exchange of
Maybe,
like get our
but
ideas
I think,
out here.
but at this point in Battleborn, sort of very short-lived venture into the space. I just find it funny that those characters were like, let's multimedia this shit, and then did not work.
Poor Battleborn. It probably would have been a relatively mediocre delve into that series.
When I was researching this, I installed it on Steam. I kind of want to go back and play it a little bit.
You know what I mean? Like, it probably could have been like a relatively middle of the road.
It's not a bad
dive
game.
into a MOBA FPS thing. Unfortunately, the idea of multiple characters of different sort of artistic and creative
I like the butler
values
robot with the cane
kind
gun.
of separate, kind of like
cool.
got it dragged down with Overwatch, because arguably the games are not similar in any sort
they're
of
not.
fashion.
They're just in immediate presentation.
They're different genres. They're different art styles. They have different attitudes. Like, it's just the fact that they're both multiplayer-only FPSs from known studios that came out in the same month that were team-based.
And that have
and they were both
characters
hero
of
shooters.
hero shooters. Yeah.
And like talking about controversy and negative reception of the game, it's like you said, it could have been a very middle of the road game, but the fact is that like there are always going to be those people who are up in arms about everything.
Listen.
And there were those people, and then Randy Pitchford responds to those people and just makes it worse.
Because the thing, Battleborn was fine. It's not Overwatch and it's not Borderlands.
I played Smite. Smite's still got an audience.
It does.
Battleborn's better than Smite. Saying it right now. Come at me, internet. Please don't. I'm sorry.
We're going to lose our Smite audience.
Like you guys have said, like it's not a bad game. It's just kind of middle of the road. And then the issue is that like people get angry, and then Randy Pitchford defends it as if it is a Borderlands.
I think it would have been a lot more successful, even if
people wanted Borderlands.
Even with the Overwatch thing,
the
Overwatch thing looming over their heads, I think it would have been successful had it been free to play. I think more people would have given it a try instead of just making fun of it without trying.
By the way,
and then that's 2K interference. That's the issue. Then.
I'd like to point out your next headline in this script just says Randy is an idiot.
Accurate.
Is that aimed at me or?
Who knows?
Okay.
That's for you to find out.
One can't say. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, Battleborn would have been a failure with or without these controversies. I like to start this episode off with it just to showcase. Again, I said this at the end of the last episode. Randy Pitchford, you just get off Twitter, dude.
Yeah.
And then
delete the app.
This is going to seg into our final topic, which is how Borderlands 3 is coming out, or as you're listening to this, is out. Woo. And Randy Pitchford tried his absolute hardest to drag that thing into the mud with him.
Why?
Because it's the way to sum up all the Battleborn talk was just things felt desperate or pathetic. And it's sad because once that was over, because you have to wait for that to just kind of like when's an okay time to announce a very celebrated, very beloved sort of franchise back. And the worst part was like once Borderlands 3 was publicly sort of revealed, then the narrative around that game was this fucking laundry list of horseshit we're going to get into. Yeah. Not the fact that Borderlands was back, everybody. Like, it sucks because there's a lot of people that probably worked really fucking hard on this game.
Are.
And
I'm sure. I think I talked to Mel about this.
And it's like if you Google Borderlands 3, you're going to get these stories. Like, it's...
But, like there's a certain point, and when we were talking about doing this episode, when I was talking to Mel about doing this episode, like, there's a certain point you can clearly tell where, like, it got too much for Gearbox to have him be the public facing, and like all the designers and artists started doing the presentations, and I actually like that a lot. Like the people behind the scenes, not the CEO of the company, but the people, and I'm not saying Randy Pitchford didn't work on the game, but like
or isn't involved or doesn't deserve credit.
But like the people that worked really hard to make this thing as good as it hopefully is. Again, we're recording this before it's out, but
I'm probably still playing it at this point.
Same. But like, you know, they got to be the front-facing people, and I really like that, but it's just unfortunate that had to come from all the stuff we're about to get into, not just like, hey, let's let the artists get out there.
Yeah, I think I want that to trend, and I want that to be more accepted, because it's like, if you look at the CEO of any company, does he understand what's being made by it? Usually not.
Yeah.
Do they understand what's being made by it? That is so, like, ingrained sexism for me to say, hey, I hate that. I hate that I said that.
That's fine. Let's get into it because we got a lot of shit to get through.
Let's go.
Borderlands 3 was announced, like we said, PAX East 2019.
Yeah.
And later, in early April, because PAX is in March.
Yeah.
Early April, they did another reveal, which revealed the release date.
Same year.
as September 13th, 2019, which to all of you who are listening was a week ago when part 1 came out.
I'm all about that. I think that's great to be like, hey, this is our game. It's out in a few months.
Yes.
Yeah,
Great.
that made me really happy because I just expected to wait.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the development story for that game is
Loudmouth
not what
couldn't
we're
keep his
here
mouth
to
fucking
discuss. We are here to discuss Randy Pitchford. And let's open the floodgates. We're going to cut back from PAX East a couple months. November 2018, Gearbox sued former legal counsel Wade Callender, saying that he borrowed money from for a home loan and for his tuition and did not pay it back.
Yeah.
And that and this is a quote from Kotaku, again, Jason Schreier.
He was supposedly a longtime friend of Randy.
He was a longtime friend of Randy Pitchford's.
Yeah.
But they are alleging that he abused the privilege of credit card access by charging unapproved, wholly personal expenses, including family vacations, gun club memberships, and firearms accessories, and trying to get six-pack abs.
That's the official fucking...
This is the lawyer?
Yeah.
It's the most bro-y ass, like...
Yes. On December 28th, 2018, Wade sued back, alleging much worse claims that Randy Pitchford had made an agreement to a $12 million secretive executive bonus to be paid directly to a separate company that him and his wife Christy own, named Pitchford Entertainment Media Magic LLC.
Are one of you guys going to change your name to that in our Hot Button Discord?
I can.
I already have my next Discord name planned out. I'm just waiting for the right time.
If anybody's going to be Pitchford Magic LLC or whatever you just said, I would like it to be me. I want that in like Suicide Squad. That's what
Okay.
Sorry.
So Callender is arguing that this money, which was paid up front by 2K in agreement that Borderlands 3 was being worked on, was saddling the developer, Gearbox, the company, with basically repaying a personal loan to Pitchford's other company.
Is that why this is taking so long to...
Yes. He is saying that basically that money was meant not for Randy Pitchford to open up a restaurant, where the fuck he did with it, but to give bonuses to the hardworking Borderlands 3 devs.
Yeah.
But 2K agreed to instead pay this directly into a secret account that nobody at Gearbox knew about. With the
Can we
exception
call
of,
it what it is? Randy Pitchford's pocket.
Yeah.
Really?
And here is where this gets interesting.
Yeah, what's up with this?
All right, this is the fucking...
No. In addition, Wade Callender claims that Randy Pitchford left a USB stick out of Medieval Times in 2004 containing, again, quote from Kotaku, sensitive corporate documents for Gearbox and its partners, including, at the time, 2K Games, Sega, Sony, Microsoft, and others. Randy Pitchford's USB drive also contained Randy Pitchford's personal collection of underage pornography.
According to
Callender.
Yeah.
According to Callender, yes. That is not fact. That is what Wade Callender is alleging. Now, here's the interesting part. Randy Pitchford had appeared on a podcast called
Go Green Knight! Because they're at medieval times. Randy Pitchford drops his important documents of pornography flash drive on his turkey leg that he's not allowed to use utensils for because of the immersion of a medieval times.
You thought the part about buying a gun and getting six-pack abs was the broiest thing that you thought. The medieval times angle is just perfect.
Randy Pitchford appeared on a podcast called The Piff Pod, presented by Piff the Magic Dragon.
God, what is a magic pod?
In the podcast, he admits not only to leaving this USB stick at Medieval Times, but also to the fact that there was pornography on the USB stick. And the description of the podcast reads, Randy gushes about his love of magic, or something like that. Now, that'll make sense in a minute as I read the following. This is a quote from Randy Pitchford on the podcast. It's a woman who is masturbating, and when she has some experience that appears as if she's having an orgasm, a huge amount of fluid comes out of her vagina. This is not a sex worker. This is a fucking magician. He then talks about buying the video to try and work out how she did it. But it was late at night, and he couldn't figure it out that day, so he put it onto a USB drive, which he then left at Medieval Times. He then
I
said,
can't.
some kid, an employee of the Medieval Times, discovered this memory stick, took it home, and accessed it because this was before we were password protecting stuff, and discovered secrets.
No, it wasn't.
Discovered secrets of my company and future games in development, and also discovered the pornography. And it was barely legal porn. The girl's handle was only 18.
That's my favorite part.
Fall out of my chair.
My favorite part of this whole thing. Like, besides the fact that he's like, no, I bought a squirting video because I like magic and I want to figure out how she did it, is that his response to them
That was damage control, according to him.
Exactly. Like, Calendar was like, it's underage porn. And Randy was like, no, it's barely legal porn. As if that would make it okay.
That shit's enough to get you banned from fucking 4chan.
Well, it's also just like,
that's not for personal experience. That's just for fucking.
Yeah, I know.
Well, yeah, I don't know anymore.
Like, Austin and I were talking about this yesterday. A lot of me believes that that's why he has that video.
Yeah.
That's why he bought that video. However,
I love
the idea that this is damage control. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. All he had to say. There's a Giant Bomb podcast out there where Jeff says all you had to say is that it's porn. That's it. You don't need to and that it's technically legal. Like this isn't like a conversation of whether or not it's
literally last night I said, despite on how creepy you think it is, it's technically legal. The dude just bought a squirting porn video. End of story.
That's it. That should have been as far as this went.
Just be like, haha, sorry.
I do genuinely believe that he did it to figure out how she did that.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, that's what
to simultaneously study and whack off to it at the same time?
That's what I was saying. It's like, I asked Austin, I was like, what % of you believes that to be the truth? And he was like, he's a weird guy.
We're all weird guys.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're all weird people.
There's a bunch of shit out there. Who cares?
It's just like, all right, so he has this USB drive that has trade secrets on it. I don't know how much space is on it. Or,
enough for porn.
Enough to like pop a fucking MP4 on there.
It's probably 8 gig.
So, all right. We're only 2/3 of the way through the allegations. Wade Callender also accused Pitchford of holding something he calls peacock parties.
Okay, yeah, this part is not.
This one's
all right, this isn't funny. Yeah, like
yes. Where I we'll get to it, but where adult men would expose themselves to minors. Now, Pitchford and his wife Christy deny this, saying that they do host performances at a place called the Peacock Theater. They are variety shows. They are recorded, and nothing like that goes on.
And some of that could be provocative in nature.
Also,
and this is, I believe, in a private theater in their home.
It is a private theater.
Is it possible that this
could be misinterpreted?
Calendar guy is some sort of fucking boomer character?
No, that's what I was about to say.
Yes, who just sees something and goes, "That's this."
Calendar.
It's possible.
It is possible.
So, Calendar has been described as a conservative religious person.
Yes. There you go.
Not that that's a bad, but I
think
that's a
strange business partner for Randy to have.
But it does add to like some of that shit. Like I think that's exaggerated. The way that Randy Pitchford responded to some of these obviously has just made it worse.
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those situations where it was like some of this you didn't do anything wrong and you could have just leaned on that.
This guy is clearly...
There's some suggestive themes in live performances based around magic. It's not totally unbelievable, but...
The Harry Potter guy pulled his penis out, right?
But saying that you're deliberately exposing yourself to... Like, that's a heavy fucking accusation.
Yes, and we'll get to Pitchford's response. First, their official statement, the Pitchfords, Randy and Christie's official statement on this says... Every performance at the Peacock Theater is recorded. While we can't immediately release these videos publicly because we need to gain consent from the performers, we can invite anybody interested or involved in the proceedings to watch any or all of these videos in private for further validation. Okay. You will see there is nothing to support what Wade has alleged and that Wade's claims are false. Also, the fact is there's no such thing as a peacock party. This is terminology that the Pitchfords have never used and was made up by Wade in a further attempt to paint a sensational picture that is demonstrably false.
It sounds a little bit like a Dateline 2020.
All of which I believe.
I also agree. I believe it seems
Yeah.
like a conservative fucking boomer-esque personality, just like trying to grasp onto any sort of thing. Like,
Right.
if you were to observe any of us, you'd be like, oh, you're degenerate, fucking drug using, cursing,
but
alcoholic.
what more harmful thing is there to claim about somebody in our kind of
Also, just one more thing about Calendar. He's also like been very public about Gamergate in from what we would view as a negative way.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yes, and that has like so
I
it's
didn't
like
know about that
if
either.
you're viewing him in context of the industry, then it's like maybe he doesn't view it the same way we do. So maybe
What
some
a
of his
cast
shit
of
we can't
characters
exactly trust.
do we have
The
here?
point I want to make here is that Wade Callender is burying the lead hard, which is that
And,
this
like,
$12
why?
million thing that I talked about going
the
right into his
Peacock Party
pocket,
thing was like an afterthought.
that
is enough to warrant an investigation.
That should be investigated for sure. You leaving a USB stick unprotected full of documents that have claims to some of the biggest companies on the
If
planet.
they left the porn thing out, it was just trade secrets.
This
That's
is
already,
trade secrets
yeah.
and embezzlement, essentially, which is more than enough to warrant an investigation. And this guy clearly does. I
Also-
hate to validate Randy Pitchford, but this guy seems to clearly
He's got it out for him.
He kind of clearly has like a dig with this guy, like, and they used to be friends, but like,
this is where the legal shit has to get involved. So wait, wasn't also I don't know if you mentioned it, but wasn't the kid that found the USB drive paid off with Borderlands swag?
I think so.
I think like
Oh my God, that would pay me
I think
off.
it was I think it was an employee of Medieval Times that they gave him a free copy of some Gearbox shit and some swag, and then they
Just like give it back, please.
yeah, and he did. I believe so. Like I don't know if he or she was ever actually quoted as to like what explicitly was on it and whether or not it was legal or illegal, but
And with the
or
calendar,
the degree of, I should say,
with the calendar accusations, it's like, yeah, you've got a legit point here. You've got actual things that have gone wrong, and then you've just tacked on this moral conundrum for what? Your own sake?
yeah.
it's a good way to make you look like the aggressor in the story.
It is exactly a good way to do that.
We got 2 more responses. Here's Gearbox's response on the matter.
Yeah.
Gearbox will be filing a grievance with the State Bar of Texas against our former general counsel, Wade Callender, for disciplinary proceedings for filing a lawsuit that includes accusations that he knows to be untrue. The lawyer rules of professional conduct expressly prohibit the filing of documents that are knowingly false. The tell is within Wade's claim itself. His use of hedged lawyer language and clever application of quotation marks betray that he knows that the impression he is trying to create is based in lies. We imagine that he used the quotation marks and lawyer language in hopes that will give him some angles of defense when we inevitably take action against him for false statements. Wade is engaged in a shakedown, and he's clearly using deceit and lies to try to cause damage by promoting a narrative that he knows is false.
So, an observation. You said earlier that, or we were talking about earlier, how Pitchford gets bogged down in the semantics when he's arguing with someone.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Wade Callender seems like a perfect business partner.
Yeah.
No wonder they worked together.
Right.
It's the same tactics, and then it's been applied to Randy Pitchford. So
And now we have Randy Pitchford's response from Twitter. The attacks made by my former friend and colleague have no basis in reality or law. He is simply trying to shake me down for money. We will win, but because lawsuits are pending, I can't comment as much as I'd like. I am shocked by his lies. Thanks for your love and support. As a father, I find crimes against children to be especially repugnant. It is very painful that a former friend and colleague would lie to try to associate me with such vile behavior in his own greedy pursuit of money. As the day progresses, I am discovering who my friends are. Thank you for your love and support. I am going to try to focus on my work and trust that the truth and justice will prevail within the courts.
Not to totally defend Randy here, but I do like...
That is a Randy Pitchford response to that, but he is
right. And
yes.
also, like, because the thing is, it's like the USB drive at the Medieval Times... it's on its face, that's the easiest headline in the world to make fun of, right?
Yeah.
But it's like we've all accidentally left something important somewhere, probably at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Not to the degree that this was, but like it was
Where's all my barely legal squirting porn?
no, like
because I believe reading that the USB drive was on a keychain, which it's like
you leave your keys everywhere all the
essentially
time.
left his keys somewhere, which I do daily.
Yeah.
My point is, it's just like, and also pornography is something that people regularly engage with every day legally.
Me,
so
never.
So it's just like, I mean, obviously there had to be problems with this partnership.
Yes.
that is now exploding
And
in a very public
to go back to
way.
ragging on Randy Pitchford a little bit, he does seem to get in a lot of little public spats with people he used to be friends with.
Yeah.
So, you know, but,
It's not like this is unexpected.
But yeah, that's some.
It is just rough because like
I
there are
wouldn't-
genuine problems being buried
There
now.
are because it's dealing with the stuff that's like, hey, this is private information in regards to
And
all
the
of these
money
companies
and everything.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to make a statement if someone was like
right, yeah.
also
Well, here's the
accusing
thing.
me of.
If you're a CEO,
he's clearly passionate about magic in a way that there's like a there's a community of people that engage with this stuff, and as to the best of my knowledge, throwing this out, there's nothing inherently wrong with any of that. So it's to somebody say that's like, hey, by the way, you and your partner are also fucking like that's.
So
Oh, this is all just so.
let's transition away
Yeah.
from the little bit of the harder stuff into the easier stuff before we dive back into the hard stuff near the end.
Yay!
Yeah.
Because as of this recording, and I don't think this will be done by the time this episode
This was
releases,
not fully resolved.
this is an ongoing lawsuit.
It probably will be for
that is
several
why,
years. Yeah.
and I believe, they can't really comment on it because you can't do that.
Yeah.
Any lawyer would advise you against that. But we're going to get away
But
from...
Borderlands 3 got announced, everybody!
Yeah. But this was all happened before the reveal of 3, so we're going to flash forward now. Game shown at PAX, March 8th, 2019.
And he did attend PAX as a
Yes.
public speaker.
He was there. He had a jacket with a Bejeweled 3 on the back. It was
Love
it was
it.
lovely.
Yeah.
It was lovely.
He likes
The whole
sequins.
thing.
Yeah,
It
he rubbed his clit until liquid squirted into the crowd because he finally figured it out.
He did do a magic trick.
he showed that video to Penn of Penn and Teller and was just like, tell me how it's done.
I'm sorry, Mom.
Hi, I love you. I am also sorry.
But yeah, he followed that up with another trailer that came with a release date announcement.
More story-based one, yeah, right?
Yes, April 3rd, 2019. But this reveal got fans a little worried, to say the least. There were two fan favorite characters, I'll say, that sounded a little different.
Yeah.
The biggest one, obviously,
I
being
noticed this.
Claptrap, since the voice actor had publicly left the company in 2017.
Claptrap kind of I would say the
Anchor.
standout character in the way that Pip-Boy represents Fallout.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I would
yeah,
agree
like-
exactly like
Yeah.
that.
Vault Boy. The Pip
Vault
Boy
Boy.
is the thing that goes
Sorry.
on the wrist.
God damn it.
Oh god, he has a habit with like fucking
I
up
know.
Bethesda specific
Someone's
lore.
gonna put together a compilation of all of my.
Oh, I love that.
My
On
life-
the hot,
Yeah.
hop
You're
on
like
YouTube.
Elber Scrolls. You did say something about Bethesda before.
Cyrodiil or
Cyrodiil, yeah.
I make the joke that I'm
That's
Steve
right.
Buscemi from the fucking sketch holding
Both
the...
of you has mispronounced TDRA, the weapons manufacturer, in the last 24 hours. So
That's because it's
Well,
stupid.
shit.
It's a stupid word that's spelled wrong. All right.
just listen.
The other voice
This
actor,
is the one that personally upset me quite a bit.
and me too, was noted voice actor Troy Baker, who played Reese in Tales from the Borderlands. And Troy Baker will not be returning, but Reese is returning.
Yes.
Which is the one thing, when I beat Tales from the Borderlands, like, I hope when they make Borderlands 3, these
That
characters
all this
are
is
back.
canon and these
they
characters
are,
come back.
but they
yeah.
don't have Troy Baker, who is a phenomenal voice actor.
Yes. Probably him and Nolan North as being...
Yeah, we
Yes.
talked about it. Probably
Yeah.
the two most
Yeah.
recognizable.
And this
And they're
didn't just upset me and
super
Randy.
cool. Yeah.
This upset a bunch of fans, to the point where one fan asked him on Twitter why Troy Baker wasn't voicing Reese. Randy Pitchford responded, "You'll have to ask Troy. I was told by the audio director that he turned it down. Fortunately, with how Reese appears in the game, I don't think it actually matters at all. You'll see for yourself when the game comes out. You may disagree with me on that or not." So,
Wow, that means we're definitely going to disagree with him.
yeah.
If he's
It
like
was very
opening
dismissive,
it,
yeah.
if he's like opening it up to ambiguity at all, you know you're going
And
to
also,
disagree with him.
it's not... That's very unlike Troy Baker to turn down that kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
somebody took the
He's
first...
very connected with his characters and his work.
Somebody
Like,
took that first sentence. You'll have to ask Troy quite literally.
yeah, and he's okay, I will.
And they said, well, fine, we will.
Yeah, this is Twitter, by the way. We can contact any human being on Earth. at any time we want.
Instantaneously, yeah.
So, in an interview with Troy Baker, somebody asked about this exact thing, and here's Troy's response. I didn't say I wasn't coming back. I said I would love to be back. They said I wasn't coming back. Their timeline tells a very interesting story. I think it's interesting that Randy Pitchford said I turned it down or that he was told I turned it down. I would fact check that before I tweeted.
That's
Boom.
Yeah.
I know. I
And
listened
it's
to the
also,
audio
like-
of that today, and I remember going like, "Boom!"
yeah, he literally, yeah. Well, it's also just like Randy Pitchford tweeted that out, and like you said, like as if you don't think somebody's gonna ask him.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, it's so
Or like
easy
you
to
don't
get,
have that thought in your head.
no,
Like maybe
maybe he was ignorant.
It's well, it's
that's
possible.
true.
That's
It's,
an
was lying.
excuse.
it's possible Randy didn't know.
No, it's not. That is true.
Okay.
He didn't
and I
know.
believe that because like he is the CEO, he is like the face in certain
Yeah.
situations, so he's not going to know all the day to day
He's
stuff.
probably not the fucking voice actor director or like casting director. I mean, like for this
That-
game, like I don't know.
That
I
being
know. Why would he
said,
be there every day? He's too busy downloading gigabytes and gigabytes of porn that toes the line of what's morally acceptable.
no, but it's also like
It's called magic.
porn is magic. Isn't that a
true.
My Little Pony?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Saying
what the
porn is
cartoon is called. Yeah.
That's why the brony culture is such a.
Oh God, we got to get off that topic.
No, but like what you said about like him being uninformed. Yes, I genuinely agree that he probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you're gonna say you'll have to ask Troy, maybe you should know.
Maybe he fucking fired his PR guy right after that.
Yeah, he was like,
Yeah.
"Why didn't you warn me?" And he's like, "I did. You
Yeah.
just tweeted it without me." Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I would love to do
No,
PR
it's
for
okay.
Randy
We live in a
Pitchford.
world where the president of the United States tweets classified fucking pictures.
Yeah.
I think Randy Pitchford's, you know.
So at this point, we got
Get
He's
Right.
getting worse since Trump's been in office. I'm just saying.
So we got two very like well loved and respected voice actors who are not a part of this project anymore.
Yeah.
And I think when we were on our break, we were talking about how controversially there was somebody who was asked to return. That
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it? Chris Hardwick is back.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have to get into
We don't
his
have to
whole
get into
thing.
that, yeah. But I think it's just the only reason that I think it's interesting is that whether or not that those allegations are completely 100% verified or not, is that it seemed easy to maintain that relationship, but these guys got.
Yeah, I don't.
Not to get all crackpot, but it's a bunch of rich people doing rich people stuff together.
I don't know, and I will not know why Troy Baker was not asked to return. Maybe they had to pay him a certain
It could have been
rate
money. I don't know.
because of like the SAG rules or whatever, and they didn't want to.
This is only a couple years after the video game voice actor strike.
Yes.
You know, so
which we are planning an episode about in the future.
yeah.
And then the thing with, all right, do you go into the claptrap thing?
Yes,
Because he
Yes.
was a.
I'll wait then.
The voice actor for Claptrap, don't get me wrong, was also like an engineer who was also.
I'll get to that.
Okay.
Isn't Chris Hardwick married to like a Hearst? Isn't there some crazy conspiracies with all the rich people like in their?
I don't know.
Hey, they
I
got
don't-
big sex pizza parties, man. Haven't you heard about it on the internet?
sex pizza parties.
That sounds
That's my kind of
awesome.
party.
But to get back into the more innocuous controversies,
Mm-hmm.
this announcement also contained the news that Borderlands 3 would be exclusive to the Epic Game Store on
Oh,
PC.
God damn it.
Cut you off.
Okay.
We are not going to have
We
the
won't.
discussion
Yeah,
as to
well,
why
alright.
the Epic Game Store is bad or good.
I just want to say they're not preloading on the Epic Game Store for
I will
Borderlands
say
3.
I will break your neck. We got.
We'll get into that another time.
We'll get into that another time.
We'll put a pin in it
But
for right now.
the only thing I wanted to highlight,
That it was $10 cheaper.
Randy Pitchford's response.
I'm
And
sure
now-
it was very elegant.
Here's the thing about this that I will get into. Whether or not you hate the Epic Game Store or love the Epic Game Store, people tend to react very passionately about that
Yeah.
whenever a developer brings up why they're on the Epic Game Store. And I wanted to highlight, this is not Randy Pitchford's Twitter tirade about why Borderlands is on the Epic Game Store is long. I showed it to you. It takes like a minute to scroll through on Twitter.
Holy shit.
It is crazy long. I could do an entire episode just reading that. So I decided to pick a snippet that I think highlights his points a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think he's necessarily wrong or right, but he also might clearly be looking to poke the bear a little bit. But we'll get into it. All right, here we go.
Why? Just stop.
Dude, he
And-
loves poking that fucking bear.
And here we are.
Yeah, man.
It's a year with fewer huge titles than we've seen in years.
Agreed.
It's a year where the consoles are at peak life cycle and the PC storefronts are getting rattled. And in a world where EA and Activision cannot really be the ones to take the risk to help forcing function happen, Take-Two shows some balls and steps up with our game, Borderlands 3, to be the content that catalyzes this moment. Holy shit, what a world. Because at the end of the day, these kind of movements in our industry are always precipitated from content. It takes the content to move us up. It took Half-Life 2 to even get us comfortable enough to swallow the Steam pill back in the day.
That's very true.
And so we're going to swallow the Epic Game Store pill with Borderlands 3. And some of you guys are going to hate it and scream bloody murder, and you'll even blame me personally for it. And you can bitch and moan and brigade and stalk my shit, but at the end of the day, when we look back at this moment, we'll realize that this was part of the moment where the digital stores on PC became unmonopolized.
Bro, chill, though.
No, here's the thing.
but
That,
like
I
also
agree.
that's kind of like
I agree,
Every single one of these
too.
controversies is I'm like, dude, fuck Randy. And then I'm like, all right, Randy. Like,
That's the thing.
it's
We don't
so
want-
complicated. Yeah.
He's got a fucking point about a lot of stuff, and he's got a point in what he's saying there. But it's also just like, why are you being so volatile about it?
Well, okay, so I highlighted a clip of it that has
he's
a lot
being
of
volatile because that's his personality.
Yeah.
I was trying to
That's
save
fair.
this for the end, but here's a bit of my. I just think that it's like the hero we need, but we didn't want it to be him kind of situation. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
like he's done all this good shit
if
and
they were,
has.
Randy Pitchford just made a name for himself by being so outspoken. And if there were more game developers or publishers or creators, however you want to label them, artists, more of their names would be known like him. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like it's...
It switches back and forth a little bit between innocuous stuff where it's just like, it's just Randy Pitchford being Randy Pitchford.
And stuff
He's
that's
not
shit.
wrong. He clearly knows his shit about this industry,
He's been
which
in
is
it for
why
a long
he's so
time.
successful in
That's
it.
the part one was kind of all about where he came from. And,
Exactly. But at the same time, his personality is volatile.
Yeah.
And in
He's an abrasive guy.
in a situation like this where people are so angry about the Epic Game Store thing, that's not that volatile, but it angers the shit out of these people.
Yeah.
And also, I will highlight
Makes
again,
every controversy forget about the last
this is
one.
a long Twitter thread.
That's fair.
You can try to look it up if you want. He makes a lot more really good points. I tried to pick out the one part towards the end where he got a little volatile. Most of it is not that volatile. Okay. So
It is a struggle back and forth with him, too, just because, like, yeah, he knows his shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I understand the points he's making. But at the same time, it's just, like, his responses to stuff and just the way that he handles it and just the fact that I know
It makes you want to rattle his shoulders and be like, what are you doing?
just like,
But
you've got it all, dude.
Yeah.
Just fucking stop.
Assuming the pedophilia stuff, like, not all that shit isn't true.
Yeah,
I could
we're
probably
speaking
have
as
a
if
beer
that's-
with this guy and like,
Yeah.
and like,
But there is just that ego that gets in the way in a lot of situations, and it's hard to reconcile.
But we said this at the beginning of part one. Does he deserve to be that egotistical? I can make the argument that nobody deserves to be that egotistical, but he does deserve to be
recognized for.
Oh yeah,
he deserves to have confidence in his ability in this industry because he's proven that he can.
Right.
And he's proven that he can fuck up too, as we covered at the end of the last episode.
Yeah.
But he has proven that he knows how to be successful.
There's a
and he
resume
understands the
of successes and failures tied
And
to
this
his
is
name.
when I talk about his ego, it's nothing about his merit. It's because that's there.
Yeah.
The dude knows his shit. Like, I'm not going to deny that, and I don't think a lot of people could. But the problem is just like, when I talk about it, I'm talking specifically about his personality and how it affects the things that he talks about and the people he talks to.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, if you are that big, if you have that platform, you should think about what you say.
Yeah.
And you should assess.
That's what's interesting is the nature of him being in charge of his own company is he doesn't necessarily have a PR person.
Yeah, he doesn't have anybody to
by his
answer
side
to.
be like, this is how you have to respond to these tweets.
I'm gonna move on because
Maybe.
we got more stories to get through.
Okay.
And
All right, let's go.
It's gonna might change some of your opinions on some of this stuff. But the last thing I'll say on this topic is that, like, at the end of the day, calling out people about the Epic Game Store thing is like, you're getting people to write articles like Randy Pitchford says you can go fuck yourself, but then like his name's out there, Gearbox name's out there, and Borderlands name's out there, so whatever. You know, the thing with the voice actors, like Reese won't return. It's like that's free advertising for Borderlands. It's not the best, but it's free. And then you have the stuff like the lawsuit where it's like, hold on, this isn't just somebody being egotistical.
Imagine you're like a fucking concept artist in Borderlands 3, and every day you're just like, oh god damn, like you're like working really hard to get this game out. And yeah.
Gearbox hosted a gameplay reveal in May, which we watched.
Yeah, this was like a longer video to showcase.
This was
some
less of a magic showcase and more of an actual showcase of Borderlands.
Thank God.
Yeah. But Randy Pitchford opened up by saying, I'm sure we're going to have cosmetics and skins, but we're not doing any of that free-to-play junk. No microtransactions.
There was literal
And there was literal
cheers.
applause.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of like what EA did with the Battle
Gearbox developers, since this was an event and there were developers around, it wasn't just Randy Pitchford in a big stadium thing or whatever.
Thank God.
There were developers around. They were quick to clarify, like, look, there's going to be cosmetics, and those cosmetics
There
are
weren't
going
two.
to...
That's not...
Yeah, those cosmetics are going to cost money. We have microtransactions. None of it will affect gameplay. That's what he meant.
And that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point.
So that was already elaborated.
Yes.
Before.
And Game Informer wrote an article after speaking to Gearbox devs about it, and they said, this might be a little bit of a sensationalist headline, but they said, despite Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford's comment about no microtransactions in Borderlands 3 during today's live stream, we've been told cosmetic items are still purchasable.
I agree that it's a little sensationalized, but it's a headline.
But it's a fact.
It's fact.
And it
Yeah,
is a
it's
fact.
very literal.
That's what I'm saying.
It
Like
is
it
literal,
is
but-
100% true.
But Randy Pitchford directly responded to that tweet with a link to the article saying, come on, guys, shitty clickbait headline. Literally seconds before I said that, I made it very clear we're going to do more cosmetic stuff like we did in Borderlands 2. You know I was talking about premium currency and loot boxes and that kind of stuff not being on our game. Why you guys would fuck me on this is beyond me. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, so it's just like...
Maybe just backspace for like just one line, and like you'd be all right.
It's like, yeah, I get it. Like, he feels personally attacked, so he's like, shitty clickbait headline article. That I can get past, but like, why you guys would fuck me is beyond me. Like, come on, man.
It's very immediately defensive, for sure.
And it's like, I get it, but just here's the way you handle that. Just to clarify, I misspoke. I meant this.
Yeah, but I mean, as Austin put,
And
I think
devs
before,
were
like,
there to correct me.
Randy ain't about backpedaling. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's full force
I'm sorry,
ahead
you're
for no
referring to
reason.
yourself in the third person.
God damn it.
But, yeah, again, maybe he should just double check his tweets, but that's a pretty innocuous one. We're going to dive head on back into the pretty serious shit. And we're going to go
Does
back.
this one involve children?
No.
Okay, good.
No? No. We're going to go
Let's
back
check.
to our other voice actor, Claptrap. The actor, named David Eddings, was also a Gearbox executive.
Oh, yeah.
And he
was.
He performed the role of Claptrap without any additional pay. He did it just as a Gearbox employee. But
Okay.
Claptrap being the face of the game, I think he wanted to kind of be paid.
And he
for
also
that.
wasn't,
Yeah.
he was no longer working at Gearbox when
At
they
the
were.
time.
Yes. He
Which-
wanted royalties.
I bet this is just me theorizing here, but I bet when he was recording that VO for Claptrap in Borderlands 1, they probably didn't know at the time that he was going to become such a
Right, they didn't.
Like
yeah.
revered character.
Now, this is going to tie back in to our lawsuit because, like I said, he wanted compensation for the role, which was not paid in addition to his pay already.
And Pitchford and Gearbox have both been upfront about how that works there.
Yeah.
They have said that employees are offered on a voluntary basis
Yeah.
to
Really?
voice in games.
Yes.
It's not for additional pay, but it's while they're at work
Have
they do it.
there been other people on staff that did something similar? Like just even if they were secondary characters in the game?
Yeah, yeah. I said
Especially with
Scooter
2K
was
Australia.
Ray
No,
Newman, who
yeah,
was a writer.
sorry, no, Scooter
Yeah,
is totally true.
there were a
But-
couple of them.
Okay.
And so, like, the idea behind, like, asking while he's not working at Gearbox to be paid,
Yeah.
duh.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
paid for work.
Well,
but I also
so-
understand, like, being salaried and then
So the reason
voicing
why
that.
he left,
Yeah.
we'll get to in a minute. But he left the company in 2017, and this kind of got out there that he was like, "Hey, he wasn't being paid." And like Mel said, Randy Pitchford has been very upfront that the employees do this on a voluntary basis. Somebody said, voice acting is part of a union. You should pay for it, blah, blah, blah.
SAG thing.
And he said
Yeah.
he wanted it and reveled in it. The issue today is that Mr. Eddings is bitter and disgruntled about having been terminated. He was offered 2 times scale. He refused. I don't want him to do it unless he wants to do it, and as motivation affects performance. Again, not a bad tweet, but maybe don't start with he wanted it.
Right. Yeah.
Also, that last dig, that last line, I can get behind that. I can
Yeah.
get behind that. Like it's a little petty, but like it's also like
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
But
I get it.
now that we started with a quote that says he wanted it, let's talk about assault.
yay.
Eddings responded, not sexual assault. That was a bad joke to make, but Eddings.
No, but this is physical.
Yes, Eddings responded with to the allegations. I was fine moving on after Gearbox, but when my former boss starts mouthing off about various aspects of my employment, including how highly compensated I was and how generous he is, I feel obligated to correct the record. I had a lot of mixed feelings when I was asked to reprise the role of Claptrap late last year, and eventually realized I was willing to put differences aside and do something cool that the Borderlands fans would like with my friends at Gearbox.
Border fans is good.
I
I
do
ultimately
like Border fans.
I ultimately offered to do it for free in exchange for past royalties owed, plus an apology for something I've never spoken publicly about until now. Randy physically assaulted me in the lobby of the Marriott Marquis at GDC 2017. Personally, I think Randy's been on tilt the last few years. He's not the victim he portrays himself to be. I even blocked him a couple years ago for stalking me on social media. Enough is enough. It's not nice feeling the need to spot any sleight of hand these days or wonder if the card was chosen or forced. I'm happy to be free from the half-truths and full-on deceptions, and thankful to no longer hear the people referred to as muggles like a con man refers to a mark.
Isn't that the Harry Potter
Yes.
characters? That's
Is that shocking?
Hold on. As an aside, seems a bit conspicuous that he chimed in on my salary but didn't mention anything about the $12 million of revenue he siphoned away from the employee royalty pool. FYI, Gearbox employees are asked to take lower salaries with promises of royalty shares. 2K says they won't give a statement regarding the ongoing lawsuit, but if the allegation is false, then it sure seems a lot easier to deny it since that's the only reason they're mentioned. This whole thing stinks. He further elaborated, he shoved the fuck out of me while I'm on the balls of my feet trying to whisper. He knocked me back 4 steps. I can't believe I caught him in a deception.
balls of my feet?
So basically,
Yeah,
what
down,
happened
like
was
a heel.
they were
okay.
in a
I
hotel.
wasn't
No,
saying that
it's
to be
the
funny.
opposite.
I generally
the
don't.
opposite, the front,
It's like your
Where the
okay,
right,
okay.
like
Where your big
it's like
toe is.
yeah,
Okay.
it's like toes, balls, arch,
It's like where your
heel.
center of the thing that is actually like
Yes.
keeping your.
Yeah, the thing that everybody else
Balance.
walks on, I
Okay.
walk on my heels.
Gotcha.
So
That's why my legs hurt.
the way this altercation played out, to my understanding, is he found out about this $12 million thing. And like I said, a lot of Gearbox employees are paid in shared royalties on games. So Randy taking the money from the employee royalty pool is essentially taking away salary from the employees. Or bonuses, essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Like I said
but promised
earlier.
bonuses.
But
Yeah.
this guy was an employee. But he was like a higher up executive employee. He knows Randy personally. So he goes up to him in the lobby of a hotel and basically like, I got to talk to you about something. And Randy says, what is it? Guy looks around, leans in to whisper in his ear, hey, I heard about this $12 million thing. And as soon as he said that, Randy Pitchford shoves him hard away from him. And that's the assault.
Okay.
And
I would call it that.
yeah, he also named 2 witnesses.
I mean, I'm sure in Randy's perspective, it was just a visceral, like,
It was a-
I
it
don't
was a
want to talk to
reaction.
you about this right
Yeah,
now.
like
That
it's
doesn't
probably-
mean it's
Yeah.
not assault.
No, I wasn't at all defending the.
No, I know,
Yeah,
I
I just
know.
more mean like it's yeah.
I didn't think you were.
I don't think it was out of a genuine maliciousness. It was
And
just
that's
like
a lot of what we've talked about with Randy Pitchford. It's not about a genuine maliciousness.
he's a reactionary
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
But he named 2 witnesses. One said that he didn't see the altercation, but noted that Eddings was noticeably upset afterwards,
Okay.
after what he claimed was an altercation with his boss. And Gearbox co-founder Landon Montgomery, the other witness, claimed David leaned up to whisper something to Randy, and out of the blue, Randy shoved him, and hard.
Okay.
Eddings then
Well,
claims...
Randy's a big guy. I'm sure he was
Yeah.
just like, get
Yeah.
the fuck off me.
Yeah. Eddings then says that he was rage-fired because he wouldn't give up the source, but that he would
Okay.
be willing to return as Claptrap as soon as Randy makes a public apology to me and pays me the royalties I'm owed.
That part I heard.
In a response, Gearbox said that it takes these claims very seriously, but will not comment on personal matters. Gearbox adds, "We think it's a shame that the 400-plus employees here who have poured the love and passion into Borderlands 3 are having their work diluted by personal allegations."
That's what I've been saying. Yeah. This whole time.
That could also be Gearbox just trying to
Sweep it under.
Wipe fucking
But that
negative
they're not
controversy.
saying that their work is being diluted by Randy. They're saying that their work is being diluted because this guy won't come back as Claptrap, maybe? Well, I don't know.
I think they're saying this work is being diluted because there's a controversial story happening and it's giving more attention to our game, which, fair, it's obviously tons of people working on this game, but also don't try to sweep something that's obviously needs to be in the forefront of the rug.
Yeah.
And then claimed that it was because he was bitter and disgruntled.
Yeah. That is the last of that, too. If they did an investigation, we haven't heard about it.
Yeah. We've talked about doing recap episodes of stuff sometime later, so maybe we'll
Whenever
know.
this
guy,
comes out.
David Eddings, if you go on his Twitter account, he has been retweeting the original tweet where they said they would investigate it and saying it's been 30 days and I haven't heard anything.
Oh, is that recently that he...
Yeah, this was in July. It was in July.
Okay, it's not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
It was after the
just
reveal.
over a month, a good 2 months.
And finally, this is our last, for now, controversy. And again, there might have been another controversy.
Maybe, by the time this comes out, who knows?
By the time this comes out.
Borderlands 3 does come out. So
It's
it's like,
literally,
ugh.
I started researching
The discs were printed with ink from the blood of...
I started researching this.
Just kidding.
I started researching this episode, and I was talking to Mel about it, and while we were researching it, I literally read the title of this article and sent it to her. So there's an ongoing lawsuit that I mentioned earlier. Wade Callender has added to that lawsuit, claiming that he can pronounce...
He didn't have enough...
that he can produce proof that not only has Randy Pitchford done all this stuff, but that Gearbox has been holding back documents from the courts, and that they should be held in contempt.
Oh.
This comes in the form of a text conversation between the podcast host that I mentioned earlier and Randy Pitchford. The podcast host, Piff was his name. Piff, the Magic Dragon, says, "Is the USB stick falling out, or has the internet moved on now?" Randy Pitchford responds, "The internet is fine. All they care about is if my next video game is good or not." Gearbox has asked for relief from the courts, trying to delay the trial until after Borderlands came out, but that relief was not granted.
Good.
And that is the last we heard of that.
Can I add one little thing here?
Yeah.
And Austin, you could probably explain this better than me, but actually Mel might be able to speak on this. But people who have gotten to play the DLC for that they've added after Borderlands 3 was announced for Borderlands 2.
Are you going to talk about the Claptrap thing?
Yeah, which does feature Claptrap with the new voice.
Yeah.
And
But if you play through the story, it's the same voice. Like, they didn't replace all the VOs, but he
totally.
is... Yeah, I played through the DLC twice already, obviously.
But
gotten all the legendaries, all the effervescence.
Quick to point out that there was some kind of questionable lines
there's a line in there where it's basically like...
As far as I know, the quest through line was that he was starting a
cryptocurrency.
A cryptocurrency.
It's a side mission, and he's starting a cryptocurrency.
And then he basically at the end he like begs for his old job back or something.
Yeah, it's basically like the new voice actor for Claptrap basically says a line of like, "Oh, my new business venture failed. Now I'm going to have to go back to my old boss and beg for my job back."
Yeah.
Yep.
Oof.
No, I don't think that's coincidental. It's a little too on the nose. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like who do you think you're fooling with that? It's a little obvious, especially
Take
with
that that for what it is. But I just wanted to point that out that it seemed like there's still bad blood floating between that stuff.
Yep.
That being said, the DLC is really good. If you haven't played it, it's free.
I gotta play it before the end of this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the last of the controversies. Like I said, for now, there could be more. Yeah, to reiterate, we've said a lot about Randy Pitchford. He is certainly a character.
Yep.
But I love Borderlands. There are a ton of talented people that work on the Borderlands franchise who deserve all the credit, and I really hope
that's an understatement. Yeah,
that Borderlands 3 is good, and to all of you playing,
we will see.
We will see. I hope you're enjoying it. But yeah, it's been said a couple times before, but I just think that he is a little conceited, a little opinionated. He has an ego on him, but he is good at what he does. He understands the industry, and without him,
I would have never played video games.
Without him, Borderlands wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, for real.
If you're listening out there, Randy Pitchford, maybe just like cool it on Twitter for a little bit.
Yeah, and that's like, I've said this so many times in different ways.
Maybe he can make these lawsuits disappear.
God. I just like I don't hate Randy Pitchford, obviously.
No, that's what I said. I'm sure I
don't think he's a bad dude. It's just hard to watch that ego and not be super suspicious and then hear about the lawsuits and not immediately be like, well, like I've seen a million people with this kind of ego do bad shit. So, and I think that clouds my judgment a little bit on him. And I think it's hard to reconcile. I fucking love Borderlands.
He's inseparable from the things that he creates. And
it is,
for better or for worse.
To say he does get in a lot of altercations with people he used to call friends. But that's personal business.
Yes.
And that's none of our business.
That's a good way to put it.
He's got some trouble.
He does.
Obviously.
He said some shit. He's also been screwed over by people before.
He's been screwed over. He's got an ego.
He's got a chip on his shoulder about certain stuff.
But he's not dumb. My comparison is to a scientist named Fritz Haber. He's a German guy.
Okay.
World War I era. He created a way to like process nitrogen or get nitrogen out of the air that led to like the creation of like a special kind of fertilizer that helped grow food better. He is actually credited with the population boom of the 1900s, which led us from like a very small population to 8 to 9 billion people, because his process was so pivotal in the way to create food. Like, he helped feed the world. He also created the gas that they used in World War I.
Oh, wait, like mustard gas?
Like the gas that they opened up to poison soldiers on the other side.
Ooh.
And he's been like an absolute like linchpin of like, when do we judge a guy's good characteristics with his bad characteristics?
Right.
He's been this linchpin. And
I actually that's a very interesting.
I know that's kind of an insane person to compare him to, but I think this is like what I'm saying is like, he obviously has a lot of fucked up weird shit about him. He obviously is a weird dude. He's obviously very fucking into himself and has an ego in him, and he's confrontational. But at the other side of it, like, he knows what he's doing. He's been in the industry for a long time, and he's got a bad rap too.
Yeah.
He does. And I think that makes everything a lot worse when dealing with controversies, and probably adds to his personal responses, because he's like, fuck, like, this keeps happening. And it's like, well, part of the reason is because you're doing bad shit, and part of the reason is because you've done it in the past and people can't let it go.
Yeah.
And above all else, this dude is like an entertainer at heart, clearly. Like, because
he's a performer.
He's always trying to put on a show.
He creates video games. He clearly loves doing magic.
We've seen him front panels. He's charismatic.
He's charismatic.
Yeah,
and I think that like the whole confrontational nature of the way he confronts people on Twitter, like, he's not a PR guy. He's a figurehead, and he is an eccentric one, and a boisterous one, and an entertainer.
Yeah,
most of all. So
yes, he's very much.
Unless it turns out he is a pedophile, in which case Hot Button is not responsible for anything.
We will take this down.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, that's the thing. It's like, even like if the
let's just end it.
Yeah. But he is
just fucking call it.
Yeah. Hopefully he's not a pedophile.
But he is very much into the pageantry of being both into magic as a performance and also video games as a performance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's got help from a lot of very talented people.
Yeah.
And let's end this podcast so I can go play that Borderlands 2 DLC.
Credit, and some who haven't.
Before 3 comes out.
Yeah,
all right.
So thank you for sticking with us for all this. Thank you, of course, to you, Melanie, for joining us to give us some insight on this this very divisive figure. And
I smiled as a response and then realized we were on a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was fun. I don't know. I like hearing the passion in you that we all have for the things that he is.
I like this series of episodes because
I do too.
part 1 was all informational. I bamboozled you guys because I always get to do all the tech deep dives and all the information about development history. And you guys get to do all the stupid episodes, but I started with development and then got stupid.
Then pivoted to a stupid one. Yeah, you're infringing on my territory.
Yeah. All right. Plugs. Thanks for listening.
I can't speak
if
right
you're
now.
Randy Pitchford, hit us up at Hot Button Cast on Twitter.
We'd love to feature you.
DM us, yeah.
Come
We'd
to
love
my
to
house.
talk to you.
Or if you hate
Bring
us,
Borderlands
tweet about
3.
us too.
Yeah,
That'd
if
be
you
great.
hate us,
Yeah, that would be
please,
good PR.
Yeah.
please tell me that I fucked you on Twitter, but tag me in it so I get some listens.
Yeah, why is Battleborn a USB drive full of underage, character Battlefront? Is that enough hot words?
You see that
Hot
mushroom?
words.
Battlefront. That was a couple
Shut up.
episodes ago.
Will Google
Hot
recognize?
words.
What did that Battleborn porn look like? It's like a mushroom and robots and.
Do you want me to show
No,
you?
I don't.
All right, let's
All right.
plug it on
Yeah, let's
Battle
plug-
Porn.
Why is that not what the subreddit is called?
You're right.
Just edit yourself, Randy. Just edit a little bit.
For all the rest of you out there that aren't Randy Pitchford, thanks for listening. You can follow us along and see how this. If he tweets at us and tells us we're idiots, at Hot Button Cast
We
on
are
Twitter.
idiots. It's just
He's got
wondering if
plenty
he
of free
recognizes
time.
us as being
Also,
idiots.
facebook.com/hotbuttoncast and at hotbuttoncast on Instagram. Our website is hotbuttoncast.com. You can go there and find all our episodes if this is the first one you're listening to. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify,
This is a
and Google
part
Play,
2
and
episode.
more. Oh, yeah. Go listen to part 1 if you haven't. And I think that's all the plugs we got.
It is.
Oh, there's one thing I want to mention.
Oh, there's some cool stuff coming up for October.
Yes.
Yes.
So-
Thank you.
We haven't mentioned this yet. This episode should be coming out probably around the end of September. For those of you that are listening, we're planning a Spooktoberfest.
We'll
spooky.
workshop that name a little bit, but
Oktoberfest. We're going to do... Okay,
does
come
anybody
on.
own Oktoberfest?
The Germans.
What about just this one?
Yeah,
October.
All right,
We will have some great
here's my next pitch for name.
Halloween themed
Randy's Spooky Video Game Month
Yeah,
edition.
better.
Luigi's presents a mansion full of ghost podcasts.
Hot pumpkin.
Yeah, but we're planning to do the entire month of October. We're going to
Yes.
do scary themes.
We got
Or-
curses. We got ghosts. We got goo.
It's Guichi.
We got video game curses. We got cursed video games.
Both of those are true.
Yes.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's gonna be fun.
if this is one of the first ones you listen to, keep an eye out
Tune
for
back
that.
in.
We'll have a lot of spooky content coming up in October,
Yeah,
and then after that, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled content
programs.
and our 1 year anniversary is in November.
yeah, shit.
So.
Aw, congrats, guys.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of y'all.
Dude, I get to do an Eve episode soon. God, could you imagine how boring the economics talk I'm going to bring into that episode is going to be?
Thank
Alright.
God you'll have to talk about it on
Well,
the podcast.
don't spoil it
I'm
now.
not going to. Just know it's going to be awful.
All right, and with that, we're done.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.